I believe that we are live. Let me just check that I can hear my own voice. Bit of an early episode for you guys today, but you are in for a treat here. You're in for some peak ultra, I think. Peak ultra, prime ultra possibly, because I am absolutely on one this morning, let me tell you. Best to get this out of the way before I have my my work to do anyway. Let's just quickly check I can hear my voice. And yes, we can. Right, you guys can hear me loudly and clearly. What a 24 hours it has been. I believe that I am owed some apologies. Press 1 if you would say that Ultra's owed some apologies. Yes or no? What do you guys think? Am I going to get my apologies today? It's apology day down here at Warren Towers. Am I going to get the apologies today? From people who told me that I was lying when I said that Conor Benn wasn't cleared. Do you remember this? When I told you 4 weeks ago, I said Conor Benn is not being cleared by Ukad. You're being told lies. IFL TV are telling you porky pies. Eddie Hearn, who we'll talk about in a minute, is very much misleading you. Conor Benn has not been cleared by Ukad. I have people jumping in the comment section telling me, oh, you just let it go. This is part of a vendetta. He's been cleared. There's nothing you can do about it, Ultra. You've got this wrong, Ultra. He's being cleared. Nico, where are you at, Nico? Nico, where are you at? I want my apologies, Nico. I want my apologies. You told me Conor Benn was cleared. Let's have a look at the latest news, shall we? Let's have a look at the latest news. This is unbelievable. This is an exclusive. Half an hour ago from the Daily Mail. Exclusive. Formal appeal is lodged against the ruling that cleared Conor Benn to return to the ring after 2 positive drugs tests. Actually, I even forgot to get the breaking news going. There we go. There we go. There you go. You got to have the breaking news there. You got to have the breaking news. And let's get the swoosh up. There you go. Ukad have appealed the ruling from the NADP that was handed down a couple of weeks ago, which said that they had no jurisdiction over Conor Benn. Let me read you the article here. A formal appeal has been lodged against the ruling last month that cleared the way for Conor Benn to return to the ring following 2 positive drugs tests. Mail Sport sources have told Mail Sport, or that multiple sources have told Mail Sport that UK anti-doping and the British Boxing Board of Control have triggered their right to contest the decision of the independent National Anti-Doping Panel. There you go. So UKAD have actually there triggered their right to appeal, which tells you that whoever told you UKAD cleared Conor Benn was telling lies. Okay, but let's continue. Let's continue. Okay. Benn had been facing a potential 2-year ban from the sport, but seemingly scored a key victory in July when the NADP, the National Anti-Doping Panel, found in his favor. Listen to this bit. This is the important bit now, okay? While the grounds of that decision have not been made public, Mail Sport understands that the National Anti-Doping Panel hearing did not include an examination of the science behind how clomiphene was found twice in the fighter's system in 2022. Again, as we told you 3 weeks ago, no scientific evidence, or there was no substantial scientific evidence provided to UKAD or provided to the NADP, which proves how clomiphene got into Conor Benn's system unintentionally. Quite simply, do you know all that mumbo jumbo that him and his new team have come up with? This new mumbo jumbo about, what is it? He's got a unique sort of physiology or something, which means his body retains clomiphene, or he's got some kind of unique physiology, yeah? That means that he's prone to testing positive for clomid, and there's nothing you can do about it, right? Plus food contamination. Do you remember that? None of that evidence appears to have been heard. This case was purely about jurisdiction, it seems. Now, I want you to bear that point in mind here. Benn's team have argued amid the confusion the ruling was not jurisdictional. Let me tell you this. Even Michael Benson, yeah? When Michael Benson basically calls Eddie Hearn out for being a liar, you know things are very, very bad. Now, unfortunately, I've just realized, yeah, because I am on what do you call it? Because I am on this stupid app, because thingy-majiggy is not working, Knit is not working. I'm actually unable to get the full tweet from Benson unless I click. I'm not going to be able to get the full tweet from Benson. But what Benson is saying is the following. In this interview, which I do not want to play because I don't want to get done for copyright. This is not mine. This is Matchroom's. Allegedly, in this interview from Eddie Hearn, the nightmare is over. Eddie Hearn reacts to Conor Benn clearance. Allegedly, at 1 minute and 15 seconds, Eddie Hearn utters the words that the ruling by the NADP was not jurisdictional. What they're trying to advance the case is that somebody actually heard some scientific evidence and decided, yeah, Conor Benn hasn't deliberately taken clomiphene, or strict liability doesn't apply to Conor Benn. He's free to box. Yeah? Allegedly, at 1 minute 15 seconds, if I've got that time stat wrong, but it's definitely this video, and everybody's talking about it. Even Michael Benson's talking about it. In this video, Eddie Hearn has said the ruling was not jurisdictional. That appears to have been a stone cold lie. Look at this article. Benn's team have argued amid the confusion that the ruling was not jurisdictional, but that is at odds with sources who claim it focused heavily on Ukad's inability to rule on samples collected by the Voluntary Doping Association. There you go. Not even attempting to prove innocence, not even attempting to advance a substantial scientific case for how Clomid got into your system. It was focused heavily on Ukad's inability to rule on samples collected by the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association. Now, I want you to remember that, because I've got another little surprise for you guys. I've got another little Ultra Tech exclusive coming from you guys in just a minute, yeah? Because, you know, we keep hearing how Matchroom fighters are testing positive because Matchroom are doing all this testing, right? Which I predicted. We'll get to in a minute. But I want you to bear that in mind, because the new story now that's coming out is the reason why these fighters are testing positive is because Matchroom, yeah, is doing all of this testing, right? Matchroom's doing all of this testing, and Matchroom is at the forefront, right, of anti-doping all across boxing. And that's the reason why all these fighters are suddenly testing positive. So bear that in mind, please, yeah? We'll get back to that in a second. I've got something for you on that in a second. But look, this case that Conor Benn and his team presented to the NADP focused heavily on Ukad's inability to rule on samples collected by the Voluntary Doping Association. Quite simply, you don't have the rights to ban me. You don't have the right to ban me because I failed a VADA test. I don't have a British Boxing Board of Control license. Nothing to do with proving my innocence via science. Nothing to do with explaining how Clomid got into my system. Nothing to do with explaining if there was a problem with VADA testing. Nothing to do with eggs. Nothing to do with any of that. We're talking pure technicality. Focused on Ukad's inability to rule on samples collected by the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association. Now that they have appealed, it is unclear whether Benn will proceed with plans to fight prior to a definitive outcome. Mail Sport understands the appeal process could take around 2 months. Now listen to this. In the meantime, this is interesting because Chris McKenna reported this a few weeks ago. In the meantime, Benn could theoretically fight as he has been licensed in the UK. Excuse me, theoretically. So Benn could theoretically fight as he has been licensed in the US and might opt to test the board stance with an application to box in the UK with international paperwork. So this is interesting. Again, the amount of inconsistencies that we've heard from Matchroom and Benn on this doping issue have been astonishing. I thought it started off as the British Boxing Board of Control have a vendetta against me. Press one if I'm correct or not. Is that not how this started? The British Boxing Board of Control have a vendetta against me, right? And therefore, I want nothing to do with the British Boxing Board of Control. I'm going to throw my license in the bin just like my father did. Then that story changed, didn't it? That story changed. That story changed to, I made a big mistake. Now I'm going to work with the British Boxing Board of Control. I don't really want to box again in the UK unless I've got a British Boxing Board of Control license. Do you remember that? Then his story changed. But it's interesting, isn't it? says he wants to go and box in the UK under a British Boxing Board of Control license, but then sneakily goes away and applies for a license in the US on the side just in case. Oh dear. Surely they're not going to tell Porky Pies and go back on everything they said. Surely, after saying that they want to do this through the British Boxing Board of Control against licensed by the British Boxing Board of Control, surely they're not going to use that American license they've obtained to try and fight in the UK or abroad. Surely not. But who's the problem? It's Ultra, isn't it? I've been wrong about this from the get-go, wasn't I? I was wrong. I've been wrong about this whole story from start to finish. All the other guys who were telling you Conor Benn was cleared by Ukad 3 weeks ago, the nightmare is over, they weren't telling on any porcupines. Everybody blamed me. Very, very, very interesting, isn't it? Conor Benn, that story, I've never seen somebody change stories so many times in my entire life. The British Boxing Board of Control are out to get me. They've got a vendetta against me. I don't want anything to do with the British Boxing Board of Control. I'm going to throw my license away. A couple of months later, it's, no, I made a mistake. I want to fight under the British Boxing Board of Control. I was just upset, you know, and I want to fight in the UK, licensed by the BBOC. But then goes and gets an American license on the side. Just in case the BBOC don't license him. Oh my gosh. How many more lies are you willing to listen to? Genuinely, like, how many more lies are you willing to listen to on this story? How many more lies? Look at these stories. Conor Benn cleared by UK anti-doping. Sky Sports reported this. This is garbage. Pure garbage. Pure garbage. Never cleared by Ukad. This man was never cleared by Ukad. Next question, right? And this goes on to Mr. Eddie Hearn. The man, again, this is the man who released the videos, didn't he? The nightmare is... Oh, hold on. Have you seen it? Have I got that right or wrong, guys? Has somebody changed the title of that video? Do you mind if I just quickly check, guys? Can you give me 3 seconds? Richard, have they changed the title of that video on Matchroom's website? It looks like they have, because I'm sure that video used to say... Eddie Hearn reacts to Conor Benn's clearance, a UKAD clearance. But today, that video, that title might have changed. Press 1 if you think that title might have changed or not. It just gets worse and worse. I'll tell you what, give me a second. I'm just firing up yesterday's video on the side. Just give me 3 seconds. Sorry, I'm in a mess now. I'm just flicking up. So I've got like 19 windows open here. Here we go. Sorry about that. Just bear with me 1 second. This browser is a mess. Righty-ho. Bear with me. Let me just check the comments. You're with me, right? Right. I could be wrong. I thought it was UKAD. Let me just quickly double check. It's only going to take me 3 seconds to double check because I remember from yesterday I had a look and I'll be able to find out pretty fucking quickly. Here we go. Cool. No, it's the other one. It's the other one. It's the other one. Sorry. I've got the other video. It's this one here. It's not this one. They released 3 different videos. So I've got the wrong video. I thought they changed the title. Hold on a minute. Let's have a look here. Here comes the lie. You ready? We can scroll down. Funny enough. Jesus Christ. How much crap did they release? Here we go. Eddie Hearn phones Conor Benn after UKAD clearance. Again, I'm not playing the video. So I'm not playing the content. This is not my content. This is Matchroom's content. Exclusive. Eddie Hearn phones Conor Benn after UKAD clearance. Sorry, to me, that is a clear-cut lie. UKAD never, ever cleared Conor Benn. That's a lie. If you think that's a clear-cut lie, press 7. And then we can move on and talk about where this is all tying on the big picture. Because this is really good stuff, yeah? Press 7. Do you think that's a clear lie? Eddie Hearn saying that UKAD clear. It's on the Matchroom Boxing fucking official Twitter page. Eddie Hearn phones Conor Benn after UKAD clearance. You can see here today, Talk Sport. Conor Benn not in the clear as UKAD and BBOC appealed decision to lift his suspension. And he now faces fresh process over positive drugs test. Lies, 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 and more lies. Question number one. Did Eddie Hearn impede an ongoing anti-doping investigation? I believe he has. How has he not? He's releasing videos to the public, telling the public that Ukad have cleared Conor Benn, when they quite clearly have not cleared Conor Benn. When a promoter speaks about a quote-unquote confidential case and releases a series of videos which mislead people into the result of an ongoing anti-doping investigation, to me, that is clearly impeding the investigation. Press 1 if you would agree with me on that, and press 2 if you disagree. I have no problem with disagree, but press 1 if you agree with me on that, press 2 if you disagree. That this is clearly impeding an investigation into an ongoing anti-doping case. Because the last thing Ukad and the British Boxing Board of Control need, is one of the most well-known, if not the most well-known promoter on planet Earth, releasing videos on his YouTube account, misleading people about the results of an ongoing anti-doping investigation. To me, this is clearly impeding the investigation, because you're releasing information and putting information into the public eye. Some people would say deliberately. That is just absolutely and utterly not correct. Ukad never cleared Conor Benn, and we have the proof of that today. Never cleared him. The NADP ruled that they don't have any jurisdiction. That's what it looks like to me. And Ukad have said, no, we're not having that. We're going to appeal that. Now, where does this tie in? Because this all ties into the Baumgartner situation, believe it or not, and what we heard back from Matchroom yesterday. So if you look at my tweet, this is a tweet from me yesterday before Baumgartner tested positive, right? This is before Baumgartner officially tested positive. And I want you to read this tweet on the right-hand side. Can you see this tweet here? Because you can predict these idiots' moves from a mile away. Remember where you heard this first. Matchroom's new excuse will be this: our fighters get tested more than other promoters' fighters. That's why they are failing drugs tests. I called that before they even jumped on the usual IFL Boxing Social and all that. But I knew what they were going to say before they even said it. Because you just, after a time when you're dealing with people who consistently mislead and provide misinformation time after time after time, it becomes kind of easier to work out what information, what misinformation that they're going to release next. You kind of read their patterns, right? So can you see that? Even yesterday, before they started doing their interviews, I said Matchroom's new excuse is going to be this: our fighters get tested more than other promoters' fighters. That's why they are failing drugs tests. So this is a new one. And I've even got, and you know what? It's so strange, right? How as soon as they say something, as soon as Eddie Hearn says something, you've got literal parrots. This is why I don't vote anymore. You've got literal parrots out there. You've got people in the comic section, and they look like this. Look, I'll show you right now. You've got people in the comic section who look like this. Literal fucking parrots. Don't think for themselves. Do not think for themselves. Literally, as soon as Eddie Hearn released that interview, within 20 seconds, my videos were fucking being hit up, and I was being hit up on Twitter with a whole load of bullshit about, but Ultra, the reason why these fighters are testing positive so much is because Eddie Hearn's testing all these fighters. Like, he's doing all this testing. That's a lot more than everybody else. This is great for boxing. Like, Eddie Hearn's trying to get rid of drugs in sport. This is brilliant. He's testing all these fighters so much, and they're failing, and blah, blah, blah. Parrots. Literal parrots, right? But there's one problem with that. There's just one problem with that argument, right? I believe this might be the interview, so I'm going to get it up. This might have been the interview. Let me know if I'm wrong, but it might have been this interview here with Boxing Social. I don't know if it was Lord Charlie Parsons who did this, but it wouldn't surprise me. I could be wrong, but I believe it might have been this interview here where Eddie Hearn says, but we're doing more testing than anybody. Do you know what? That might be true. I'm not even going to dispute that. That very well might be true. Matchroom's fighters might be getting tested more than anybody else's fighters. And that might have a part to play in why so many of them are testing positive. Do you know what? I'm not even going to question that. That could be right. But I want you to press 9 if you agree with me on this, or press 10 if you disagree. It's not about how many tests your fighters take, is it? It's about what you do with the results, right? It's not about how many times your fighters get tested. It's about what are you doing with the results when your fighters test positive. You ever think about that, parrots? You ever think about that, you parrots? You keep coming and go, but they're doing more tests than everybody. But what are they doing with the results? What's happening when a fighter is testing positive? Let me give you 2 examples, right? The objective of drug testing is to, in boxing, is to stop people getting into the ring and punching each other in the head when they are on steroids or performance-enhancing drugs. Am I not right? Isn't that the whole point of performance-enhancing drug testing in boxing? The aim is to stop people getting into the ring who have an unfair performance advantage in case they end up killing somebody, right? You can test your fighters as much as you want. You can Matchroom can test their fighters 20 times more than any other promoters. But when Dillian White allegedly failed a drugs test before the Oscar Rivas fight, did that fight go ahead, yes or no? What was the answer? When Dillian White allegedly failed a Ukad test before the Oscar Rivas fight, did the fight go ahead, yes or no? I believe the fight went ahead. Was Oscar Rivas informed that he was getting in the ring with somebody who had an adverse finding? No. But the fight went ahead. So what was the fucking point in the testing? What was the point? Testing was done. Results were delivered. The promoter knew about the results, right? So a Matchroom fighter was tested, yeah? Or a fighter on a Matchroom promotion was tested. He had an adverse finding. Did Matchroom turn around with what did Matchroom do with the results that they were given from the testing? Did they turn around and say, do you know what? Dillian's had an adverse finding. We can't let him in the ring with Oscar Rivas until the investigation's been completed. We can't. We can't let him in the ring with Oscar Rivas until the investigation's been completed, because if Dillian gets in the ring and kills Oscar Rivas or harms Oscar Rivas or breaks his orbital bone and blinds his eyesight, we're going to be fucking facing lawsuits from all over the place, because we didn't tell Oscar Rivas that he was getting in the ring with somebody who had failed, yeah? Or who had a problem with a drugs test. And we're leaving ourselves wide open. So what are they doing with the information? What are they doing with the test fails? How many tests did Conor Benn fail? I believe that Conor Benn failed a VADA test in July. Am I right about that? For a WBC case. Am I correct in that? That Conor Benn failed a test in July. What did Matchroom do when Conor Benn failed that test in July? Did they say, hey, Conor, you failed a test, mate. We can't promote any more of your fights, so we can't be involved with you until you get this fully cleared up, until we know how this Clommer thing got into your system? Did they do that? Did they do that? Or did they carry on promoting him? Or did they carry on promoting him? Did they carry on working with him? What happened when Conor Benn failed a second VADA test? In around about, was it August he failed the second VADA test? Did Matchroom immediately cancel the Eubank fight? Well, as soon as they heard and said, Conor, look, we can't work with you because you've now failed 2 VADA tests for Clomid. We can't work with you. We might not be able to cancel the fight. The fight can go ahead. Contractually, as Eddie Hearn says, contractually, we might not be able to cancel this fight. But I'm not promoting you. I'm not going to stand by your side. I'm not attending the fight. And I'm going to tell DAZN not to broadcast this event, because I don't want my brand, Matchroom, associated with somebody who has failed 2 drugs tests and who hasn't been through the proper investigation. And you can't, I am not representing you. I am not standing beside you. DAZN will not broadcast your fights until you prove through an actual proper UCAD BBOC investigation, yeah, how this stuff got into your system. Did Matchroom do that? Did they do that, yes or no? Or did certain people seek to carry on with the fight? What was the results of the test hidden from the public? And the preparation for the fight continued until the Daily Mail broke the story. And then when the Daily Mail leaked out that Conor Benn had failed a test, all of a sudden people started scrambling to cover their asses. So can you see what I'm saying here? All this stuff you parrots are coming out with about Eddie Hearn test fighters more than any other promotion, he's probably right. And is that a good thing? Yes, it's a good thing. But it's not just about testing. It's about, are you going to enforce the results of the testing? No promoter has done more to undermine VADA testing in this country than Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing. That's my opinion. Would you agree with me or disagree with me on that? Those of you muppets, those of you parrots who are now telling me to look at the VADA website and see how many times Matchroom fighters are getting tested. Ultratech, just look at the Matchroom website. Look how many times these Matchroom fighters are getting tested. Eddie Hearn's at the forefront of this. He wants doping. He wants doping rid of boxing. Look at how many Matchroom fighters are getting VADA. Nobody has done more to undermine the position of VADA testing in the UK than this man on your screen and his lawyers, in my opinion. Look at it. He's standing by a fighter, and you can see it in black and white in this Mail story. He's standing by a fighter in Conor Benn, whose case to the National Anti-Doping Panel, and I quote, focused heavily on Ukad's inability to rule on samples collected by the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association. That's why Ukad and the BBC are appealing this. Do you not get it? They're appealing this for a reason. Because if Conor Benn gets his way, this could lead to a situation where VADA testing in the UK is virtually pointless. It's virtually toothless because you can fail as many VADA tests as you fucking want, but nobody can ban you or nobody has the remit to stop you from boxing in the UK. The British Boxing Board of Control will be toothless. Now, to me, that's what Eddie Hearn stands for because he's standing by Conor Benn. If you don't stand for it, Eddie Hearn, then you need to dissuade yourself and part yourself from Conor Benn. But if you stand by Conor Benn and continue to promote him and tell people that he's innocent and tell people that Ukad cleared him when they clearly did not, to me, you're complicit in all this. You're complicit in this. You're complicit and you are backing up a boxer who is telling the United Kingdom Anti-Doping Agency that they have no right to rule on veiled VADA drug tests. Does that make sense? So one more time, all you parrots out there who keep blabbing on the Matchroom company line about testing. Oh, we're testing all these fighters. Oh, we're testing all these fighters. Yeah, Conor Benn failed 2 VADA tests. And what happened? What happened? Nothing. What did they do with the results? Nothing. So what does that tell you? It's not about how many tests you take. It's about, are you willing to enforce the results? Nobody has done more in this country to harm VADA testing than these individuals, in my opinion. That's what it seems like to me. Does anybody disagree? Thanks to what's going on in this Conor Benn case, if Conor Benn wins out, which is very possible, if Conor Benn wins his appeal again with the NADP, what does that mean? What does that mean the next time somebody fails a VADA test? What does that mean for Dillian White's VADA test? Does that mean that just carry on boxing in the UK? British Boxing Board of Control can't do shit. He failed a VADA test. So what? Is that what it means now? Is that what it means? You can fail 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 VADA tests and we just, you fail, but it don't matter. It don't matter. That's what it seems like to me. So you can't come to me and tell me about all these tests that they're taking and all these tests that they're having fighters doing because they're trying to clean up the sport. When to me, it looks like all that's going on is the authorities are being undermined every single day. Because this here, Eddie Hearn phones Conor Benn after Ukad clearance, which to me is a clear mistruth. Whether it's intentional or unintentional or deliberate, I will leave it up to you to decide. This is a clear mistruth. This is clear misinformation. There you go. So I don't think there's any reason to go on super long today. Unless anybody's got anything else to say, that's my point on it. It's a load of nonsense, mate. People need to start, and listen, like I said before, it's great that Matchroom are testing more fighters more. Kudos to them. And let me make it clear, I've never said, ever, that doping in boxing is just a matchroom problem. I've never, ever said that. That's stupid. I've never said it's Eddie Hearn's fault that a fighter is testing positive. That's stupid. It's not his responsibility to make sure that fighters test negative or not. It's not his responsibility. But I tell you what, when you do get the test results, and the test results say that so-and-so fighter has tested positive for clomiphene, me personally, I don't think you should be representing that fighter until he has gone through the full and complete investigation. I don't think you should be looking to make fights for that fighter in the UK or abroad unless that fighter has gone through the full and proper investigation. I don't think you should ever release misinformation about the outcome of an anti-doping investigation. I think you should keep your fucking mouth shut and leave it to UKAD, the BBOC, and the authorities to tell. It's for the authorities to tell people who clears who. It's not for Eddie Hearn to tell people who cleared who. Can you not see the problem with this? Just quickly before we go. Did it not click in your brains? When a promoter releases a statement before the anti-doping UK agency in the UK, where have you ever seen that before? Did it not rattle your brains then that this could be a whole crock of shit? When you've got a promoter telling you the outcome of a doping investigation before any sort of official communication from the British Boxing Board of Control or UKAD themselves, and you didn't think there was a problem with that. It's not down to this man to tell you who's been cleared and who's not been cleared. Leave that to UKAD. Leave that to the National Anti-Doping Panel. Leave that to the British Boxing Board of Control. So in conclusion, where are my apologies from those people who told me that I was lying when I said that Conor Benn was not cleared by UKAD 3 weeks ago? Where's my apology? And ask yourselves, am I perfect? No. Do I get it wrong? Of course, I get it wrong all the time. But ask yourselves, who's more accurate? Who's consistently more accurate about this issue and the other issue? Who's consistently more accurate? Because all the others just make mistake after mistake after mistake. The same Muppets that told you Conor Benn was cleared by UKAD are going to be making videos this evening telling you now he's not cleared. And to cover themselves, they're going to tell you this is all a conspiracy by the British Boxing Board of Control. This is all a conspiracy by the British Boxing. No, you guys are a bunch of dudes sitting in your mum's bedroom who don't understand how to read documents. Very simple stuff. And as Gael says, the confidential line is bizarre. I've said it a million times. You know, confidentiality. These dope cases are only confidential, in my opinion, when Eddie Hearn doesn't want to answer tough questions. Put a tough question up against him, all of a sudden he can't answer because it's confidential. But then he can run on his little Matchroom Boxing YouTube channel and spread misinformation about Conor Benn being cleared by UKAD. Are Matchroom going to apologize for that? Are Matchroom going to remove this title? I wish I could get you the full tweet by Michael Benson. Even Michael Benson himself has said in his latest tweet that Eddie Hearn said that the ruling by the NADP had nothing to do with jurisdiction when it clearly did. Even Michael Benson is now pointing out the fact that this man is misleading people. Some say this man is telling straight up lies. So that's all I've got to say about this. That's all I've got to say about the Alicia Baumgartner test. Don't come at me with any of this bullshit, any of this moralistic bullshit about Matchroom testing fighters more than any other promoter. You're absolutely right. But again, it ain't the testing. It's what you do with the results. And if you look at their record of what they've done with the results with Dillian White against Oscar Rivas and what they did with the results for Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr., in my opinion, they didn't handle them results acceptably. And one last thing before I go, and I'll call it a day. Anybody who's got a brain in their head, I don't care if you don't like me, I don't care if you think I'm a, whatever you think about me. You need to be looking very, very closely at this drug-free sport. Do you understand? You need to be looking very, very carefully now, not only into the lies that have been told, in my opinion, yeah, about Conor Benn being cleared by UKAD, but you need to look very, very carefully into what's going on with this drug-free sport and what happened with Alicia Baumgartner and Christina Lindendatu, if I've spelled her name correctly. You need to look into that very, very carefully. And you need to ask yourself the following question, right? And I'll leave you with this. What is the fucking point? Now, as far as I'm aware, Matchroom have chosen to work with drug-free sport to conduct drug testing, yeah? That's Matchroom. If I am wrong about that, I apologize. But as far as I'm aware, Matchroom have chosen to work with drug-free sport to conduct their drug testing, right? What is the fucking point in drug-free sport testing a fighter on July the 12th, 3 days before the fight, but the results not getting to the lab until the 21st of July in 9 days? The whole point of employing or partnering with drug testing or drug collecting or whatever agencies to test your fighters is to make sure that fighters do not get on Matchroom shows with steroids in their system. How on earth can you make sure that fighters are getting onto Matchroom cards without steroids in their system if the agencies that you are choosing to work with receive a sample on July the 12th and it doesn't get to the lab until July the 21st, 1 week after the fucking fight? In what world does that make any form of common sense? Can somebody tell? I had this argument all last night on Twitter. In what world does that make sense? And people are saying to me, it's not Matchroom's fault. It's got nothing to do with Matchroom. It's not all Matchroom's fault. But they are the ones who choose to work with drug-free sport. They have, as far as I'm aware, if I'm wrong about that, Matchroom, I apologize. Please correct me. But as far as I'm aware, Matchroom work with drug-free sport by choice. Now, if I choose to work with somebody who's going to be collecting and testing samples for my fighters prior to a fight, I need to know those results ASAP. I can't know that Alicia Baumgartner has been tested 3 days before she gets in the ring with Christina Lindatu and allow the sample to sit around for 9 days until it gets to the lab and then wait a fucking month for the results. How does that make any sense? How is the company that I'm choosing to work with fit for purpose? Big question marks have to be asked about whether this company are fit for purpose. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's all Matchroom's fault. It's not all Matchroom's fault. But they've chosen, as far as I'm aware, unless anybody contradicts me, they have chosen to work with drug-free sport. And in doing so, they're choosing to work with a company who receives a sample from a fighter on July the 12th, and it doesn't get to the lab until July 21st. So what's the point in testing the fighter prior to the fight then? What's the point in testing them prior to the fight if it takes not? What's the point in testing them 3 days before the fight if they're going to fight anyway? Makes sense. You're defeating the object of testing. The object of testing in boxing is to stop people with steroids in their system getting into the ring. That system failed. And that system failed Christina Lindatu. So question marks have to be asked about this drug-free sport. Who are they? What the fuck are they doing? Why Matchroom are using them? And is there anything that could have been done to make sure? Is there anything that could have been done to make sure that this process could have been expedited quicker? Quite simply, I had somebody say to me before I go, I'm not even going to start. Somebody said to me on Twitter, yeah, 9 days is a bit slow. I said, mate, Postman fucking Pat could have delivered them results quicker. Listen, I did a test. I had my blood tested for antibodies last year. I sent my blood off in a first-class fucking envelope. I had the results available on the internet for me to read inside 48 hours. Do you understand that? Blood, not even urine. I sent my blood off in a fucking envelope to get tested in a London lab for antibodies last year. I had the results in his screen in front of me inside 48 hours. But somehow I've got people telling me that it's acceptable for Alicia Baumgartner to have a sample taken on July the 12th and it don't get to the lab for 9 days. Meanwhile, she's allowed to jump in the ring and punch someone in the fucking head. You can't write these stories, huh? But don't worry about that. There's no problems in boxing. There's no problems in boxing. It's all Ultra's fault. It's all my fault. It's all down to me. I'm biased. Don't listen to me. Listen to everybody else. They're running around telling you Conor Benn was cleared by Ukad. Listen to everybody else. I talk rubbish. I talk garbage. I don't know what I'm talking about. To be honest, I have no idea about drugs. Tony knows loads more about this stuff than me. Go listen to Tony. I posted the link to Tony's YouTube channel. If you're wondering what the link is to Tony's chat, I will post it again today. I posted it in yesterday's video. Tony knows way more about this than me. I'm no expert. But I do know one thing. I know that Ukad never cleared Conor Benn. And I know that this fucking drug testing protocol headed by Drug Free Sport for the Baumgartner versus fucking Lindatu fight, that didn't look up to standard to me. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other.